Have you ever wanted an anime adaptation of your favorite cartoon series? Well, if you're a fan of the beloved Powerpuff Girls, you're surely in for a treat today. Set in the real-life city of Tokyo, Japan, the show Powerpuff Girls Z introduces brand new origins to our trio of sugar, spice, and everything nice. Even though the show uses a major portion of the original cast, it also has some unique sets of characters that add a touch of anime to the show. The anime adaptation of the Powerpuff Girls features some notable differences from the original American animated series. In the anime, Professor Utonium has a wife, a son named Ken, and a pet robot dog named Poochi, and while he is not the girls' legal guardian, he serves as a father figure to them. The three main characters, Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles, are ordinary teenagers who can transform into superheroes when needed, and they're not biologically related to each other. Blossom and Buttercup live with their parents and siblings, while Bubbles is an only child who resides with her grandmother. Each of the girls has her own unique signature weapon. Unlike the original series, Mojo Jojo in the anime is portrayed as more of a nuisance than a serious threat. He has no connection to the girls' origins, lives in a rundown shack, and lacks any prior association with Professor Utonium. Furthermore, the setting of the anime is Tokyo, a real-life Japanese city, although in the English dub, it is referred to as the New Townsville. These differences give the anime adaptation its own distinct storyline and character dynamics, while retaining the core concept of the Powerpuff Girls as young superheroes. So, without further ado, let's jump into the world of Powerpuff Girls Z. Professor Utonium and Ken experiment with Chemical X to stabilize it, but accidentally turn it into Chemical Z when Poochi, their robotic dog, inadvertently drops a Zuber cake into it. They discover strange climate anomalies occurring worldwide, prompting Ken to suggest using Chemical Z to restore balance. However, the Chemical Z barrel goes missing, leading to Ken firing it from a cannon at an iceberg, causing a burst of white and black rays in various directions. Meanwhile, each of the Powerpuff Girls, Blossom named Momoko Akatsutsumi, Bubbles named Miyako Gotokuji, and Buttercup named Kaoru Matsubara, is hit by one of these rays, granting them superpowers. Blossom uses her newfound abilities to protect a girl with a yo-yo, Bubbles saves a girl blowing bubbles, and Buttercup rescues a boy playing with a hammer toy. As they discover their powers, they encounter the transformed supervillain Mojo Jojo, who was once a regular monkey at the zoo but has now become highly intelligent. The Powerpuff Girls Z spring into action, with Blossom showcasing her yo-yo skills and defeating Mojo Jojo, setting the stage for their superhero adventures. In the first episode, Professor Utonium and Ken accidentally cause an explosion while experimenting with Z-rays in the lab. Afterward, the mayor of New Townsville calls for the Powerpuff Girls Z to deal with a crime involving Mojo Jojo trapping kindergartners and stealing candy. The girls quickly transform into their superhero personas and engage in a battle with Mojo Jojo, causing some collateral damage in the process. They eventually realize that their powers are running out, so they take a break at an ice cream shop. When they return to face Mojo Jojo and his Robo Mojo, they defeat the villain, save the day, and rescue the kindergartners, showcasing their heroic abilities. Sometime later, Blossom finds herself tied up and strapped to a bed in the mayor's van, but soon realizes that Professor Utonium and Ken are not threats but are trying to help her understand her newfound superpowers. They explain the origin of her powers caused by Chemical Z and the significance of her superhero identity as Blossom. Bubbles, referred to as the Girl in Blue, also receives her superpowers and is pursued by the mayor, leading to a chaotic encounter with Mojo Jojo. Blossom eventually recognizes the need to team up with Bubbles to protect New Townsville and confront Mojo Jojo, the genius supervillain who has also gained powers due to Chemical Z. Meanwhile, Buttercup, the third Powerpuff Girl, is introduced as she confronts Mojo Jojo, leading to a cliffhanger ending as Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup finally meet and confront Mojo Jojo together. Buttercup initially resents being a Powerpuff Girl, especially disliking her girly costume and affiliation with Blossom and Bubbles. However, as they bond over their shared experiences and learn more about each other's personalities, Buttercup begins to embrace her role. They share a meal at a Chinese restaurant, but encounter a chaotic situation that forces them to transform into their superhero forms. Buttercup, initially reluctant, eventually joins in, and they decide to become the official protectors of New Townsville, with a set of rules and guidelines to follow. The episode concludes with each girl preparing for school and inadvertently exchanging lunchboxes, highlighting their distinct personalities and backgrounds as they embark on their new superhero journey together. Meanwhile, as the Powerpuff Girls Z responds to the emergency signal, they encounter Mojo Jojo causing chaos at a local food store, devouring almost everything in sight. Poochi alerts Professor Utonium and Ken, who then activates the girls' power belts. The girls quickly make excuses to leave school and head to the scene. Once on the rooftop, they express concern about the situation. Despite Blossom's unease, they transform into their superhero forms and fly off to confront Mojo Jojo and thwart his latest nefarious plot. Oh, it never gets dull in the new Townsville. On the day the Powerpuff Girls Z were born, Princess loses her cat, Sapphire, leading to her eventual encounter with Black Z-Rays. Weeks later, she tries to gain attention and impress the girls but fails. Feeling neglected and frustrated, Princess unintentionally transforms Sapphire into a monster. She releases a giant robot to attack the city, hoping to become a hero. However, her efforts to control the robot fail and the girls step in to save the day, leaving Princess jealous of their praise. In a final attempt to defeat them, she is captured and later awakens, vowing revenge and determined to win their attention one day, setting the stage for future conflicts. Annie, the owner of a sweets shop, becomes infatuated with Jason, a guy who frequents her store. However, she feels insecure, believing that Jason is interested in Miss Bellum. Annie's jealousy takes a dark turn when she's hit by Black Z-Rays from an iceberg that appeared in New Townsville, transforming her into Sedusa. As Sedusa, she starts stealing makeup, shoes, jewelry, and clothes, planning to become more glamorous to win Jason's attention. The Powerpuff Girls Z eventually discover Sedusa's crimes and confront her, leading to a battle where Sedusa is defeated and turned back into Annie. In the end, Jason asks Annie out, and she gains confidence in herself, realizing that she doesn't need to change to be loved. Princess Morbucks enrolls in the girls' school and quickly becomes popular due to her wealth and gifts to her classmates. However, she grows jealous of the Powerpuff Girls Z, who also receive attention and admiration. To eliminate her competition, Princess Morbucks transforms into a supervillain with the help of her pet cat, Sapphire, and attempts to destroy the school with meteorites. The Powerpuff Girls Z intervene and prevent the disaster, saving the school and Princess Morbucks in the process. Professor Utonium and his team arrive to restore Princess Morbucks to her normal self, and she wakes up with no memory of her villainous actions. In the end, she is showered with even more gifts from her classmates, showing that she doesn't need to resort to villainy to gain attention and popularity. Blossom starts her day by taking Ken's cake from the laboratory's refrigerator to celebrate the anniversary of New Townsville, but her actions are met with criticism from Bubbles and Buttercup, who accuse her of stealing it. Meanwhile, Mojo Jojo and his Robo Jojo is on a cake-stealing rampage across the city, prompting the mayor to alert the girls. When they confront Mojo Jojo, Blossom's anger gets the best of her, leading to a destructive battle that leaves her partners exhausted and questioning her actions. After Mojo Jojo tricks them into a refrigerator and freezes them, Buttercup manages to break free with the help of Poochie's telepathic message, and they rescue Blossom and defeat Mojo Jojo. However, the cakes are launched into the air and Bubbles retrieves them with her powers to return them to their owners. In the end, Blossom realizes the error of her ways and tries to return Ken's cake, but it ends up eaten by Miss Keen. One day, Bubbles tells the girls about her childhood crush, Cody, who had saved her from bullies. Bubbles fondly recalls their time together and visits the park in hopes of meeting him again. However, Cody, who had broken his leg as a child, has been turned into a monster by a mysterious Black Z-Ray. He causes chaos in the city, and when the girls confront him, Bubbles recognizes him as Cody and tries to reach out to him. Sadly, the dark aura takes over and Cody escapes. However, the girls vow to find a way to turn him back into a human so Bubbles can reunite with her childhood friend. In this episode, Princess creates chaos in the city for 2 consecutive nights, leaving the Powerpuff Girls Z sleepless as they stop her each time. Princess's jealousy towards her accomplished sister, Duchess, leads her to accidentally transform her cat into a monster, causing more chaos. The girls investigate the cause of the princess's transformation and discover a room filled with videos of the Duchess, realizing that watching them triggers the princess's changes. They capture the princess with the help of compliments and praise from the citizens, turning her back to normal. As the girls try to get some sleep, Mojo Jojo attacks the city with his robot, much to their dismay. There ain't no rest for the wicked. Mojo Jojo, the Gangrene Gang, and Fuzzy Lumpkins, feeling disheartened by their recent defeats at the hands of the Powerpuff Girls Z, decide to join forces to finally defeat the girls. They launch an attack on the city, but the girls, who are busy arguing among themselves, don't take the threat seriously. Ken threatens to revoke their privileges, prompting the girls to transform and head to the city. However, they are shocked to find Mojo, the Gangrene Gang, and Fuzzy working together. The girls' internal conflicts hinder their teamwork, and they are easily defeated, getting sent to the moon. There, they regret not focusing on defeating their foes and return to New Townsville, determined to stop them. The villains, on the other hand, end up fighting amongst themselves, and they are once again defeated and sent back to the moon, where they continue to argue. One night, Mojo Jojo steals Chemical Z from the professor's lab and uses it to create 3 mischievous boys, Brick, Boomer, and Butch, collectively known as the Rowdy Rough Boys. Meanwhile, the girls, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, discover the theft of their personal belongings in Chemical Z, but must still attend school. While at school, they receive a signal from Poochi indicating Black Z-Rays activity in the city. They transform into the Powerpuff Girls Z and confront Mojo Jojo, only to be humiliated by the Rowdy Rough Boys he accidentally created. Mojo Jojo attacks them, thinking they bullied his creations, but the girls manage to defeat him. However, the Rowdy Rough Boys refuse to join Mojo, and the girls are left frustrated, vowing to seek revenge another day. One day, a child loses a rubber duck named Mr. Quackers in the park, which goes through various transformations and mishaps. Poochi, while playing soccer with Buttercup and Ken, encounters the animated rubber duck, names it Quack Quack, and keeps it a secret. Quack Quack grows in size due to consuming bubble baths and recalls its past life. Poochi and Quack Quack bond, but when Quack Quack becomes too large, it causes chaos in the city. The Powerpuff Girls Z intervene and shrink Quack Quack back to its original size. It falls back into the hands of its original owner, but reverts to an inanimate rubber duck upon being squeezed, leaving Poochi feeling sad but hopeful, suggesting possible supernatural elements in the duck's transformation. After Ken's destruction of the iceberg causes white and black Z-Rays to erupt, a black Z-Ray strikes an abandoned museum, awakening an unknown entity trapped inside a sealed coffin. This entity is the notorious Him, the scariest villain in all of the series. Him, initially angered by its confinement, releases black dust that possesses a nearby mummy. It then instructs the mummy to find a white light source, leading the mummy to rampage through shops in search of it. The following day, the mayor reports the incident to Bubbles, Buttercup, Poochi, and the Utoniums, with footage showing the mummy's search for the white light source. Professor Utonium suspects the mummy may be targeting the girls. Meanwhile, the girls encounter Mojo, initially believing him to be behind the chaos, but he's actually after pastries. As they investigate further, they discover the mummy's connection to the stolen pastries and confront both the mummy and Mojo. However, their confrontation leads to their capture, and the mummy absorbs their powers. The Utoniums and Poochi witness this, and Mojo, with his robot, attempts to defeat the mummy but is unsuccessful. After a battle, the girls regain their powers with the help of Poochi and defeat the mummy. The mummy's cloth then returns to the abandoned museum, where Him is waiting for the winter to end. The Powerpuff Girls Z are overwhelmed with homework, prompting Ken to discuss his academic achievements, including earning his PhD. The girls encourage Ken to experience school life and make friends. Ken attends school, where he meets classmates like Kuriko and Joe. However, he struggles with social interactions and classroom dynamics. Meanwhile, Mojo Jojo steals a glowing trophy from the principal's office, leading to a confrontation at the school playground. As Mojo unleashes a robotic scarecrow, Ken and Joe form a bond, ultimately outwitting Mojo with a riddle. In the end, despite initially finding grade school boring and below his level, Ken joins his new friends, including Joe, in playing soccer, showing that he has found enjoyment and friendship in his school experience. On a fine day, a rather peculiar gentleman pays a visit to the professor's lab, claiming that his hair has mysteriously transformed into black particles. Meanwhile, the mischievous Him manages to break free from his long slumber in the coffin, finding himself in a world that changed quite a bit. He summons his trusty black particles, which soar out from the lab toward his coffin. The girls, in their transformed state, rush to follow the speedy particles, but keeping up proves quite the challenge. As these misadventures unfold, Him discovers the secret behind the white lights that granted the girls their powers. In a crafty move, he brings a painted ghost to life and sends it on a mission to capture the girls. Meanwhile, the professor delves into the ancient history of Chemical X and uncovers a fascinating tale. It turns out that Him posed as a threat to Edo centuries ago, and one of the professor's ancestors, Uedo Chaki Chaki, created Chemical Z to seal him away. 3 girls were granted superpowers and became the Uedo Chaki Chaki girls, quite similar to our beloved Powerpuff Girls. With their newfound abilities, they managed to defeat him and sealed him into a coffin. Uedo Chaki Chaki used a clever device to separate the black particles or black light from Him's body and secure him away. They tossed those black particles into the ocean, placed the coffin in a museum, and fast forward to the present, our brilliant Ken figures out that the box containing the black particles must have been encased in the iceberg he once demolished. When the box got smashed, it made its way back to him's body, ultimately setting him free from the coffin several centuries later. And that, my friends, is the intriguing origin of the Black Light. As the girls find themselves spooked by the animated ghost, Professor Utonium, Ken, and Poochi embark on a journey to the museum where him's coffin lies. The girls, with their resourcefulness, also make their way to the museum and cleverly defeat the ghost. Their path then leads them to the infamous him, who drops a bombshell. The mummy he sent was on a mission to harvest white light from the girls, a plot to free himself from the confines of the coffin. Just as he starts flexing his powers, he suddenly leaves, suggesting that he'd prefer to engage in their battle during warmer weather. The girls are left feeling a mixture of relief and awe as the overwhelming aura of him lingers in the air. On a splendid day at the sunny beach, him finds himself simmering with frustration over his centuries-old defeat by the Oedo Chaki girls. He can't help but to reminisce about how those pesky girls forced his body and mind to be separated for so long. In his devious mind, a plan takes shape: revenge on the Powerpuff Girls Z, who possess powers quite similar to his own. He dispatches his mischievous black particles to possess Bubbles' dear toy Octi, which suddenly springs to life with rather sinister intentions. Octi sets in motion a series of events that lead the girls to bicker among themselves, creating division from within their ranks. With the girls at odds, him seizes the opportunity to sow discord and weaken their unity. Soon he entices the cunning Mojo Jojo into launching an attack on the girls, knowing they're no longer a cohesive team. Mojo unleashes chaos upon the city, and the girls' squabbles persist, allowing Mojo to capture them. Just when it seems Mojo's about to deliver the finishing blow, the professor arrives in his trusty van, swiftly rescuing the unconscious girls and spiriting them away. Mojo Jojo, in a sudden power grab, proclaims himself as the new mayor and orders the shutdown of the professor's lab. But before Mojo can revel in his newfound authority, him shows up, making it clear that he has no use for Mojo's services. Meanwhile, the girls regain consciousness but continue to bicker, oblivious to the imminent threat. Funny enough, it's Poochi who finally sounds the alarm about the impending danger. The girls swiftly transform and confront a colossal Octi that poses a menacing threat to none other than Mr. Bellum himself. During this intense showdown, Bubbles has a heartwarming revelation. Octi is being manipulated by dark forces, causing division among the girls themselves. When they attempt to strike Octi, Bubbles intervenes, expressing her reluctance to harm her cherished pet toy. In a surprising turn of events, the girls find themselves captured once more, but Bubbles' heartfelt words and tears work their magic, pushing the sinister black particles out of Octi and restoring it to its lovable self. With him's defeat at the girls' hands, they finally reconcile, while the original mayor regains his rightful seat as the guardian of the city. Harmony is restored, all thanks to the indomitable Powerpuff Girls Z. Him comes across a struggling comic book artist who's mocked for his drawings and offers help by possessing his sketchbook. The artist initially refuses, but eventually draws under him's influence, creating a destructive dinosaur in the city. The Powerpuff Girls Z defeat the dinosaur, angering him, who forces the artist to draw the super tough girls, another set of characters. The girls defeat these characters too, leading to him's capture and torment. Afterward, they return the sketchbook to the artist, who decides to create a successful comic book series based on the super tough girls. Him plots to cause more chaos, while Princess, accompanied by her friends Mandy and Brandy, flaunts her invitation-only party to the Powerpuff Girls Z, leaving them disappointed. When the girls inadvertently lead to the dismissal of Mandy and Brandy from Princess's entourage, Princess's loneliness and frustration eventually drive her to become a powerful monster. Meanwhile, him manipulates Mandy and Brandy into monsters, causing them to seek revenge by joining Princess's side. At a star-studded party, Princess gains the upper hand against the girls with her newfound strength, leading to a showdown. However, Mandy and Brandy ultimately refuse to harm anyone, causing the girls to defeat them, and the three former friends, including Princess, reconcile after the battle. During a peaceful night in the new Townsville, the Powerpuff Girls Z accidentally split the moon into two halves. Like, whoops. Leading to understandable public outrage and their subsequent ban from using their powers. As they struggle to adjust to a powerless life, they receive news of various villains causing chaos across the city. However, due to their power restriction, the girls face challenges in reaching the villains and addressing the crises. Meanwhile, Mojo Jojo orchestrates these disturbances, believing he has the upper hand with the girls unable to stop him. The girls attempt to use alternative means of transportation, eventually returning to the rescue but still failing to catch Mojo due to the restrictions. However, with enough public support, the ban is lifted and the girls easily put an end to Mojo's schemes. In the end, the girls are seen flying to the moon to fix the damage they caused in the first place. Princess's older sister, Duchess, returns to New Townsville, causing excitement in their mansion. The princess feels neglected by her sister's return, but she pays her a visit and tells her that she too was affected by the emergence of Powerpuff Girls Z, leading to a moment of bonding. This leads to a collaboration between the princess and Duchess to outshine the Powerpuff Girls Z using their wealth. They enlist Mojo Jojo's help, though each has their own hidden agenda. The Duchess observes the girls' fighting techniques and then confronts them with her newfound powers, defeating them easily. Surprisingly, the Duchess turns on Mojo Jojo instead of the girls, leaving everyone perplexed. In the end, the Duchess departs and the princess realizes that her sister's plan was to tarnish the Powerpuff Girls Z's reputation in the public eye. The Powerpuff Girls Z experience a body-swapping mishap when they are sent flying by fuzzy lumpkins during a confrontation in the mountains. As a result, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup find themselves in each other's bodies. They spend the day experiencing each other's lives, with Blossom in Buttercup's home dealing with her wrestling-obsessed family, Bubbles in Blossom's home trying to manage her rambunctious little sister, and Buttercup in Bubbles' home adapting to her traditional and strict grandmother. However, none of them are entirely satisfied with the switch, to say the least. To reverse the body swap, they decide to provoke Fuzzy Lumpkins into beating them up once more, hoping it will return them to their original bodies. The girls are enlisted to participate in a public service announcement about the importance of politeness in public, sponsored by the Townsville mayor. However, the mayor's obsession with his approval ratings leads to more promotional work for the girls, including wearing special clothes to look perfect in public. The rowdy rough boys, particularly Brick, seizes the opportunity to cause trouble by stealing the girls' clothes and weapons. With their powers compromised, the Powerpuff Girls Z receive auxiliary supersuits from the professor. A comedic montage ensues as the rowdy rough boys behave rudely and disrupt the city, mimicking the bad behavior they were supposed to promote against. The mayor mistakes the rowdy rough boys for the girls and takes them to a promotional event where they continue to behave badly, leading to various humorous situations and misunderstandings. The girls try to stop them and fail until they mock them for wearing a girl's costume, which turns the tables of the battle. With their wit, Powerpuffs save the day once again. On a beautiful day in New Townsville, Buttercup wakes up and greets her family, including her father Tokyo, who always wears a mask. She becomes curious about his masked face and attempts to remove it, but her father firmly refuses. Later, Buttercup learns about her father's wrestling career and the significance of the mask when he reveals his intention to retire if he loses a match that day. Then her mother reveals how his father tried his best to become a champion back in the day but failed, prompting him to take a year's salary and go to Mexico for training. There, he became friends with the Masked Mexico, and the two trained really hard. Then one day, Masked Mexico entered a mask-off match against the #1 skilled masked wrestler at the time and ended up getting beaten harshly. The match ended in a draw, but Masked Mexico could not wrestle anymore due to injury, so he gave his mask to Buttercup's father, which is why he never took it off. This newfound understanding strengthens Buttercup's admiration for her father. During the championship match, Him influences Tokyo's opponent, but Tokyo ultimately triumphs on his own. After winning the championship, Tokyo reveals his face to Buttercup behind closed doors, and she finds him really handsome, cementing their bond. Him, up to his old tricks, returns to New Townsville with a devious plan to take down the Powerpuff Girls. His first move is to hypnotize and unleash his menacing black dust upon them. However, the girls prove to be quite the slippery adversaries, managing to escape Him's clutches. Realizing that his initial scheme flopped, Him switches tactics and attempts to possess the girls by exploiting their weaknesses. Blossom unwittingly gets caught up in a plot involving a possessed guy from school, while Bubbles and Buttercup find themselves dealing with bizarre incidents at home due to their own possessions. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, the professor steps in with a nifty device to free the girls from the clutches of the black dust. Him's next move is an audacious attempt to steal Chemical Z, but the girls, armed with their powers and unwavering teamwork, stand up to him. With the professor's invaluable assistance, they manage to drive him away, saving the day once again. The Powerpuff Girls can finally return to their everyday responsibilities, secure in the knowledge that they've triumphed over evil once more. Cody, traumatized by his previous encounter with Bubbles, retreats to the forest and begins to question his identity. Meanwhile, the girls, especially Bubbles, remember Cody and her time with him. They investigate his whereabouts and learn that he spent 7 years confined in a hospital, which left him lonely and distant from others. Cody's isolation continues as he scares off kids and campers who cross his path in the forest. However, Bubbles eventually finds him in the park and helps him confront his past. Cody opens up about his illness and the disappointment of not being cured, leading to his transformation into a monster. Despite his initial resistance, Bubbles' unwavering support helps him regain his confidence in humanity. In a final showdown, the girls confront Cody, who briefly succumbs to his monstrous side before Bubbles uses her powers to restore him to his true self. In the end, Cody agrees to return to civilization and promises to keep in touch with Bubbles, marking a heartwarming resolution to their story. On a beautiful day in New Townsville, the enigmatic Him ponders why the Powerpuff Girls always manage to thwart his Nephers' plans. He reminisces about Poochi, who possesses some of the elusive white light, and drops a bombshell. The scattered black light across the world is actually his doing. Him claims he can use this dark energy to finally defeat the girls and summons all the black rays back to him. But here's the twist. Not all the black light returns to him. It turns out that Mojo Jojo, Fuzzy Lumpkins, Princess Morbucks, and the Green Gang, Sedusa, and the Amoeba Boys haven't returned their powers. So Him devises a cunning plan, inviting them all to his swanky Hayashi Towers. However, Princess Morbucks declines the invitation, and Annie gets mixed up in the invite because it's addressed to Sedusa. Him doesn't give up that easily and urges them to return the black light, even offering them stylish new outfits to sweeten the deal. The newly formed team of villains starts wreaking havoc in town, and the girls don their superhero personas to tackle the threat. As they rush to the scene, Mojo Jojo makes a daring escape, leading the girls into a tricky alley where they're ambushed by the Green Gang and the Amoeba Boys. Just when things look grim, Fuzzy Lumpkins swoops in and kidnaps Poochi, spiriting them all back to Hayashi Towers. Him then orders Mojo to dispose of Poochi, but the girls arrive just in the nick of time to rescue their furry friend. They rush Poochi and Mojo to the professor's lab, trying to explain that Mojo is being manipulated. However, Mojo shares that Him promised to make them all 100 times stronger, but the girls remain skeptical. Suddenly, a powerful aura emanates from Hayashi Towers, revealing that Him has indeed boosted the strength of the other villains. The professor suggests sealing Him to end this chaos and unveils his secret arsenal of giant robots, the Dynamo Z. Without hesitation, the girls hop into these colossal machines, soaring into the skies and transforming into giant versions of themselves, ready for an epic showdown. The girls decide to give the giant robots created by Professor Utonium a whirl, only to discover they are designed for time travel rather than combat. The professor spills the beans that they need to journey into the past to find a way to defeat him. But there's a catch. They must be ultra cautious not to mess with the timeline. As they embark on this epic journey through time, they encounter an unexpected group called the Good Enough Girls and even bump into an alternate version of Miss Bellum. Meanwhile, Him gets wind of their plan and dispatches Fuzzy Lumpkins to put a stop to their time-hopping antics. During their time-traveling escapades, they come face to face with Fuzzy, the Rowdy Rough Boys, and Mojo Jojo in various historical periods. They're on a mission to retrieve those elusive white lights that hold crucial information. But Him's meddling causes a major glitch, landing them smack in the middle of ancient Egypt. Here, they once again cross paths with the Rowdy Rough Boys. Despite all the twists and turns, the girls ultimately manage to snag the vital white lights they need and make their triumphant return to the present. Little do they know that Him has a sinister scheme up his sleeve, involving monstrous creatures and a looming volcanic eruption that threatens to turn their world upside down. In the climactic finale of the series, Him, now in possession of all the black Z-rays from the monsters, unleashes a devastating volcanic eruption that threatens the very existence of New Townsville. Mayor swings into action, rallying the defense forces, while Professor Utonium reveals a daring plan to defeat him, which hinges on a device powered by the white Z-rays. Here's the catch. The only source of these crucial white Z-rays is none other than the Powerpuff Girls Z themselves and their loyal companion, Poochi. With heavy hearts, Ken is reluctantly forced to extract Poochie's white Z-rays, bidding a tearful farewell. The girls bravely accept the necessity of the sacrifice and take on the monumental task of protecting the city from the raining molten rocks. In the midst of this chaos, they stumble upon Him's vulnerability to cold temperatures. Guided by Ken, they cleverly use an iceberg to weaken him, causing him to shrink down. In a final epic showdown, they ultimately defeat him, sending the ominous black particles hurtling into space. Although they initially believe they've lost their powers, the girls soon discover that they can still transform, and Poochi miraculously regains his ability to talk. The citizens of New Townsville come together to celebrate their beloved heroes, but the monsters make a surprising return, leading to one last epic clash. But in the end, the girls manage to protect their city once again. As the series draws to a close, the Powerpuff Girls Z take a moment to reflect on their incredible battles, resolve to continue protecting their cherished city, and bid a heartfelt farewell to their loyal viewers. And on this note, our recap comes to an end. Well, this was interesting, but what do you think? Would you prefer the anime over the original? And what other cartoons would you like to see an anime adaptation of? Do let us know in the comments, and as for everything else, don't forget to drop us a like and subscribe to our channel for more awesome tunes like this recapped on your feed. With that said, thanks for watching. Peace!